So there's this saying in football that gets thrown around a lot, and that is football's a game of two halves. Or sometimes when a game ends, they say that was a game of two halves. Well, today, that was the perfect example up against Leeds. Welcome back to Operation Arsenal. Today was a very important game because it was the game after the successful match against Manchester United. It was a task to reproduce that again, which would have been difficult considering it's the FA Cup. We were going to change up the team a little bit. But to be fair, we didn't do a bad job. I think the first half we were not terrible. We definitely didn't wake up very quickly, and it wasn't our best first half performance. And to be fair, we've been second half FC all season long. It wasn't a good first 45 minutes, but I think it was more that Leeds were just great. Leeds are a fantastic team. Can I just go ahead and say that right off the bat? I cannot wait for Leeds to potentially get promoted. I think they will, and they'll be a great addition to the Premier League. They play some fantastic football. I'm a big fan of Bielsa, and I think that should they get into the Premier League, they'll probably do quite well. And it's been what? I want to say it's at least 15 years since Leeds were in the Premier League, so I think it's time that we welcome them back. And after that display and after the couple of times I've watched them over the last few years, I've always been impressed with how they play. So, yeah, they were really good. They definitely brought the game to us. They were the better team in the first half. And actually, if you didn't know anything about football, you would assume that the team Leeds were playing at home. You would assume that Arsenal were the team playing away from home, because if someone told you, the home team typically have the ball a lot more and they show a lot more quality and passing, that was Leeds. So that was disappointing from an Arsenal perspective, but it was still really impressive from Leeds, so you got to give it to them. But then, in the second half FC comes out, guns blazing, and we got the goal. We got the goal that ultimately won the game. But the thing is, Leeds could have won this match probably, well, in the first half. They could have scored 2, 3, 4 goals. And it really, really was a case of them lacking a final product. You know, that's what held them back. So Leeds fans, I know you must be pretty disappointed. But really, I think you've got to be proud of the team that they've come to a difficult place. I know Arsenal haven't been great this season, but typically the Emirates has been a fortress for us. We don't lose many games there. And to come and play that well, and I would argue to potentially outdo us, I think that was very impressive. If you could score your goals, if you could finish it, maybe you needed a player like Nketiah up top. I'm just kidding. I know he wasn't unbelievably good for you guys, but he still came up with some good goals. It's weird that he's come back and he hasn't been loaned out just yet. We'll soon see what happens there. But if they could finish their dinner, as everyone says, then Leeds would have won this game, I think. So you've got to. I guess if you're an Arsenal fan right now, you're happy that you've won the game, you're happy that you got the result, but really you've got to be questioning how we allowed that first half to happen. I think it was a case of just jaded players. There were a lot of games recently, and of course we've gone through a very difficult period. At least the last 2 or 3 weeks, a massive transition, and then you got to include the transition under Freddie Ljungberg and Unai Emery leaving. It's all been a bit difficult, a little bit confusing for the players, I guess, and a lot of games in a short space of time, and you could see that maybe the first half we weren't really at the races, but we definitely came out in the second half and we were much, much better. Which players stood out for me? Well, I think David Luiz, again, had a fantastic game. I think he is comfortably our best defender at the moment, which is mental because a couple of months ago, maybe even just a couple of weeks ago, we were all just thinking to ourselves, what have we done signing David Luiz? But it just goes to show players like David Luiz, when they're at that age, you know, they can suddenly switch it on and all that experience comes to fruition. But he is still David Luiz. We all know he's got a mistake in him, but he has been very, very good. I thought Socrates was much better in the second half, didn't have a great first half. And to be fair, we played basically a 3 at the back. It didn't look like it on the pitch sometimes. It looked like Socrates was pretty much right back. But I thought Holding had a very decent return to the team. So all 3 defenders I was pretty happy with. I think David Luiz goes down as the best of the 3, though. But behind them was arguably one of Martinez's best performances in an Arsenal shirt, which, well, there isn't many, but whenever we've called upon him this year, he's done pretty well. And last year, to be fair, when he did play. I like Martinez. I don't think he is Arsenal quality per se, but certainly for now, he's not a bad option, and he did very well in that first half. I think Leeds had something like 9 shots, 10 shots, and he saved a lot of them. So you got to give Martinez a shout. Very, very well played. Defensively, the first half wasn't great. Second half, much, much better. We actually caught up with Leeds, and we managed to pretty much have the same amount of shots as them. But it did feel like this game, specifically when it comes to the shots that we've faced tonight, we were slipping back into old ways. It was almost like Unai Emery was back in the first half. It didn't bode well, did it? It wasn't nice to watch, and we were just being peppered by shots. And that's exactly what happened when Unai Emery was here. And I think the main reason he was sacked just because we weren't closing teams down enough. They were just having free shots on us constantly, and that was losing us games. Since Arteta's come in, and a little bit with Freddie, we have been much better at stopping those shots coming in. But this first half, I'll put it down to just old habits from the whole of this season, pretty much, creeping back into their game. But the second half was a lot better. In midfield, Xhaka and Guendouzi as the two central midfielders, I thought they were absolutely fine. Xhaka got away with a lot of heavy challenges. Couldn't get my words out there. Easily could have got a couple of yellow cards today, but the referee was kind somehow. Doesn't happen to us very often, I've got to say. We've got a bit lucky there. And I thought Guendouzi, it's interesting because we all know Guendouzi's got the quality to be a great midfielder, but he's just a bit mental. He's just a bit, I don't know, he easily gets angry and he starts taking it out on opposition players, and it often ends up with him getting overly angry and losing his head, and then he loses focus, concentration, makes errors. But today, I think I noticed that he's had a good talk with Arteta. I think Arteta's literally said to him, look, just chill, man. Just relax. You don't need to be going crazy on the pitch like you have been. So that was good to see. I thought Guendouzi was a lot more mature. It was a much more mature performance from him. And I quite enjoyed his actions in between attack and defence. He was quite literally a box-to-box player tonight. And I do see Aaron Ramsey in him a little bit. There is that quality of him getting back, but also getting forward and being quite creative. I would just love to see him shoot more and provide more assists. That is the one thing he's lacking, and that is, as Leeds did tonight, lacking the finishing product, the final pass or shot, whatever it may be. But I thought Xhaka had an okay game as well. He was not as good as he was against Manchester United or against Chelsea. I thought tonight, though, he was still relatively solid. A couple of maybe slight errors, but again, most players did make a few mistakes in that first half. It was really weird, the system we were using. I think I liked it because the second half was a lot better. Maybe he made some adjustments, but was it really three at the back? It really didn't feel like it. It was almost a Pep-style system, wasn't it? Where you have the whole team shifting and one player moves up and then they all tuck in. It felt like Sokratis ended up playing as a right back, and then we had two centre backs, and Kolasinac was pretty much left back and then would go straight up top as a left midfielder, left winger as soon as we got the ball. And the whole team would just shift over to the right. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't understand all of it. It's obviously quite complicated. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those tactical briefings. That would be amazing. You know, you guys know I have such an interest in tactics and how managers tell their players to play, and I would love to do that. Maybe one day I will have the privilege, but who knows. It was really interesting to see it happen. I don't think it worked perfectly, but it certainly got better throughout the game. Nelson got his goal today, which is great for him. I think the last 4 times he's played at the Emirates, he's had 4 goal contributions, a lot of assists, and now a goal. Is it 2 goals, 2 assists? I can't quite remember now, actually. But I thought he was pretty good. And Pepe on the right, I thought did well. Kolasinac did very well as well. And then we had Lacazette, who did his usual holding up play. Literally, Lacazette spends the whole game like this, just holding off players. This is all he does, just holds players off, which I find hilarious. But he's such a good team player. He got us involved a lot and allowed Mesut Ozil to control from midfield. The first half was difficult for Ozil. They man-marked him. He wasn't dropping deep enough to get the ball. But in the second half, the tactics changed maybe, or just Arteta had a word and said, look, why don't you shift over to this side a bit, whatever. Something changed because Mesut Ozil, until he was subbed off, was getting a lot of the ball. And he was the reason, I think, that we kicked up a gear and we were able to get that goal. So in general, I'm very pleased with the performance tonight. It was just a solid 1-0 to the Arsenal type result. Poor first half, but I think it was exacerbated by how good Leeds were. You know, when you come to a Premier League side and you're not in the Premier League and it's a cup game, you almost have nothing to lose. They were expected to potentially lose tonight, and Arsenal have potentially a comfortable game. I say potentially because you never know with Arsenal, and you never know in the cup. So I mean, Leeds could just turn up and have fun almost. There wasn't too much pressure on them. So I think that the first half was extra good for Leeds because they had nothing to fear, and that made Arsenal look worse. But really, I don't think it was as bad as it looked. I know stats-wise it wasn't great, but yeah, we can do better. We can definitely do better in the first half, and I don't want to see a repeat of that. But this is now 2 wins in a row for Arteta, another clean sheet, which is always a bonus, and most players are doing pretty well. I mean, right now, I'm feeling pretty good. I was really excited to watch the game, and that's the second, well, actually 3 games in a row now where I've genuinely been really excited to watch Arsenal play, and I completely lost that. Please let me know in the comments, Arsenal fans. Do you feel the same way? Is there it's just, there's something exciting going on with Arteta, and I'm interested in how we're going to play. We just look like a completely different team, and my passion for Arsenal has always been there, but right now it's just like I want us to play tomorrow. I want us to play the game again the next day. I want to watch Arsenal every day, and yeah, we have to wait, unfortunately, but really decent result that we go through into the next round of the FA Cup, and it's a tournament that I'm so glad we're taking seriously because we're not going to win the Premier League. We're not going to even get top 4, maybe not even top 6, who knows. The Europa League, I don't think we've got a chance. I think the FA Cup is genuinely our only hope here to make this season a little bit less bad. That's how I'm feeling anyway. Thank you so much for watching another episode of my Operation Arsenal. I hope you enjoy these. Make sure you leave a like. I've uploaded one for years now, every single game, and that's quite difficult. I'm very proud of how consistent I've been with these videos. So if you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe and then you won't miss another one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for some RB Leipzig career mode.